So in the previous section, we have under circumstances. Okay, now, so why the answer here should be, I mean,
Okay,
this
so
one.
the previous sentence ends with is necessary to be tested scientifically. Um, or I would say needs to be tested scientifically. Um, and then the contrast, however, he never did experiments. So he's got a theory that needs testing,
But
but he never tested it.
can we use
So
also here?
no, because that implies one thing kind of after this and also this. Whereas what we want to do in this situation is highlight that there's something that his theory required, but he didn't do it.
But
So
in the
um, okay, if we're using although, uh, although we would need to have this as a that would be a subordinating word that would make the clause dependent in relation to another clause. So you might say, although Freud never did experiments, his theory needs to be tested scientifically. So you'd need to put them together.
oh, okay,
Although sets up a dependent clause. So
you're
in
right.
this case,
Mm.
we would need more um to allow that
They
to.
should be
So you're
connected
right.
somehow. Okay,
Yeah.
and with a comma, for example, as you mentioned.
Yes, a comma could work. Although, and you would drop the comma after however. So the comma would have to go
Exactly. So
yeah.
we can just put a comma also, and we drop this comma.
It then makes the sentence a bit unclear
Oh, I'm sorry.
because
Also should be at the beginning. You're right.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think it would be easier to put the circumstance to put that as a circumstance at the beginning before the main clause. Um,
So can we
yeah.
say? Let me say again. Also, pros blah blah blah, and then we will put a comma, and we drop
Mm.
this comma. He never did experiments.
Yes, so although Freud's psychosexual theory needs to be tested, he never did experiments.
He
Yeah,
never did
comma, he
experiments.
never did experiments. So you could do something like that.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Explain this once.
So we would need to turn this into a different kind of dependent clause to use another verb form. So with the ing verb form, we don't need anything else. But if we wanted to use offers, um, which offers very little insight into females. So some have issues with Freud's theory being focused more uh,
So we cannot say
on
which offers very little instead of
mm,
is it
yeah, or which offered. So
or
we
which
need the wit.
offered. Yeah.
We need the which there. Um,
So we cannot say that offered. Yeah.
uh, again, we would need to change the sentence more, I think. Um, Freud's theory, um, Freud's theory is focused on male psychosexual development, an approach that offered very little insight into females. Something like that. So you'd need to put a that clause in rather than a which, because I think which would set up the right kind of relative clause here. Um, whereas that would need to be followed by, I think, an independent clause.
Yeah.
Mm,
But how
yeah.
can we change it to offered? I mean, if you want to, how can
Okay,
we
so
change it?
we also need the which offered or which offers. Um, so we
Which
need a
offered? Which that's okay. Yeah, great.
which
I got
offered
it.
very little insight into females. So that would be in the past tense.
Mhm.
Um, we could also talk about which offers because even though the activity was in the past tense, the theory is a present theory that we're debating right now.
Do you know
Um,
you suggested
some
offered
have
what?
issues with Freud's theory being more focused on male psychosexual development, um, offering very little insight into females, which offers very little insight into females, which offered So
So which offers is correct?
it could be, and so could offered. It it's neither of them is especially clear because we can't tell exactly which of the items in the previous clause are being pulled out.
I got it.
But you could use either of them.
Yeah. So which
Yeah.
offered or which offers? I mean,
Mm,
not completely
yeah.
correct, but if you want to use in either of them, we should use which is the important thing.
That's right, because you're then making it into a relative clause rather than a
Independent.
non-finite clause.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he, so obsolete or right or so which one do you think is correct now?
I think it's either wrong or one-sided, but I think wrong is
That yeah. So which one
yeah.
is correct? I mean, based on this.
So them being more even-handed. They're saying one-sided.
So we choose
Um,
wrong.
but I think I think you could also say wrong.
So
Um,
so both of them you think is correct, yeah?
so
Wrong or one side.
I think in the full context, one-sided makes the most sense because the sentence says it also refers to homosexual preferences as a
Mm,
deviation of normal psychosexual
mm,
development, though many psychologists today feel that sexual orientation is more biological in nature, and Freud's theory is one-sided.
mm,
So, because it's about more or less biological, um, then it might be about different sides of nature nurture. So
nature
one-sided
nurture.
might be more the more precise way that he's wrong. He's wrong, but if we say one-sided, we're saying exactly how he's wrong more accurately. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but the
Um,
only part that is one sided is here.
yeah, I think you're right. I think it's ambiguous, isn't it?
Yeah.
The sides are. I guess what I'm taking as a cue is the more or less biological.
I got it. Yeah, I
That
got it.
suggests to me that maybe there is a sidedness to this issue of orientation, how psychologists understand orientation.
Yeah, great. I
But
got it.
I think you're absolutely right. It's quite unclear.
Mm,
Another reason why wrong probably
yeah,
works for both, right?
yeah, exactly.